Hello, guys, and welcome to the live British Grand Prix qualifying review. It's your host Matt back again for another stream, and I am joined by the wonderful co-host as usual, Way Molds. How you doing, my friend?
Was enjoyed it. It's very eventful qualifying. Uh, some interesting for me again. Ricardo can't do anything right. But yeah, it was good. It was good qualifying. Um, I know you was very happy at the end watching someone start to dance on the with his car and the cheers.
It was the cheer that got me. It was probably the biggest cheer that happened all race, and it was for Verstappen spinning. I love this game. As Patrice Evra would say, I love this game. But yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit as we go through. But yeah, it was a decent qualifying session. It's one of the ones you like in the rain. It's not too much rain, not too little. It allows you to keep everyone on the toes. Everyone was constantly going around. None of this. You go out for one lap, stay in for half the session, go out at the end. It's everyone's going around. Everyone's constantly improving. You don't know who's going to finish where. As we see, we got some big surprises in the race, in the qualifying. Big shake up of the grid. And sometimes, as we saw in the last bit, you just have to be at the right part of the track at the right time for the right weather.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think the majority of the track outside of Sainz, I think we're a bit too late because the time suddenly plummeted in the last minute, just before Sainz got through, just after Sainz got through. But it is what it is. I think for both of us was kind of a bit more encouraging, more so Mercedes side than McLaren, but it's going to be a very interesting race for tomorrow. So, guys, make sure anyone that is watching now or will be watching after, make sure you smash the like button so you never miss another video, and hit subscribe and notification bell again so you get notified whenever we go live, so you can join straight away. So going into obviously Q1, we'll kind of just go through the people that went out and then go through kind of the highlights. So obviously Lance Stroll finishing last, with Mick Schumacher finishing 19th, Vettel finishing 18th, Magnussen 17th, and Alex Albon just missing out by a very small margin to his teammate Nicholas Latifi to miss out of Q2. Not too many surprises there, was there, Wayne, in that first bit, apart from, as we'll get into Latifi a little bit later.
Yeah. I did was surprised with the Aston Martin because I did think they might at least one of them get through. I thought Patel might have got through, um, but he said not really me surprised. I did think Ricardo might have went out. Be honest, because it looked like that was going to happen. Um, but no, no big surprises really.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit. I'm not so surprised with Aston Martin because I know in Canada they struggled with their tyre pressures in the wet, and that is a very important thing when it does come to the wet. If your tyre pressures ain't right, you're not going to be fast at all. And I think again they've kind of had a similar problem. I think Vettel down the radio was like, "Oh, it's happened again." Very frustrated. I think Vettel deserves a better car than he's getting at the moment, and it's very unfortunate that he's having to struggle in this car. But yeah, there was a point where I was looking at Ricardo. I thought, "Oh, you didn't put." As soon as he put in that lap, and I saw it wasn't that great, I was like, "There's a few drivers that could
Yeah, over
bounce
you.
up." I was a little bit disappointed with Albon because obviously he had the upgrades on his car, and he was supposed to be the driver that you assume with the upgrades would have done better. But I think he just couldn't get his lap together,
Yeah,
and it was it was a bit unfortunate in that. Obviously not missing out by a very small margin, so you can't really blame that too much either. But yeah, I wasn't too surprised. I mean, the surprise was obviously Latifi, but we will get into that when we talk about Q3 because obviously didn't go out of Q2 either, which was I was a little bit proud of him because I've given him a lot of stick, but I was a bit proud of him
we
for getting
both
the
have.
win. But I'm happy for him. Anyway, I mean, going into little bits of Q1. Generally, obviously, it finished in terms of the top of the table. Verstappen fastest, Leclerc, Russell, Sainz, and Hamilton. Wait, sorry, it's Q1. So it was a big gap, and you did notice whenever everyone was going through times, it seemed to be Verstappen that had the edge over everyone, didn't he?
Yeah, he seemed like he had the car hooked straight away for the conditions. What was good to, we it wasn't good obviously for us, but good to see for Red Bull fans. But um, I was surprised though with the wet weather because some of the drivers I would have thought in a dry would have been up there wasn't like Lando and for example was Russell. So yeah, it was interesting, and then that was a opening show, shall we say, to the full for the qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, looking kind of at the Q1, how it finished, obviously, Leclerc was closest to Verstappen and he was 7 tenths off. You had Lando Norris 2.5 seconds off in ninth. You go around you and Bottas and the Alfa Romeos did pretty well considering they're normally not, Bottas is not very good in the wet normally. So it was nice to see that they put on some good times in Q1. Big up to Rob in the comment section. Be interesting if there's rain tomorrow for the race. I definitely agree. I am praying for more rain because rain at Silverstone is always the best. It's not like other places where Monaco, where apparently it rains and you can't race. You just stop, delay. I'm glad they didn't do that for this. I saw the rain. I thought, don't delay it. Please don't delay it. They did. Mercedes upgrades have been decent. Still can't believe Sainz is on pole yet. I mean, I'm not going to give him too much credit, but one of the panelists here did predict Sainz would be on pole, so that was a bit of a fluke, I'm going to say, from him because the rest of his prediction was completely wrong. But yeah, the Mercedes upgrades, I think I'm hesitant to say whether it's upgrades or whether it's track, the style of track Silverstone is that's making it better, but it is good to see Mercedes improving. Obviously, Rob, 1:15 a.m. watching the stream. Obviously, it's bedtime for him. So, Rob, hopefully you can watch the rest of the stream when you wake back up. But big up to you for joining anyway from Australia. Obviously, this is worldwide F1. We don't just have people from the UK watching. We have people from Australia, America, all the time zones covered here at Worldwide Chelsea. Wayne, obviously going back to you. So yeah, qualifying one, nothing other than that was really interesting. Moving into kind of qualifying two, again it was Max Verstappen topping the leaderboard. The track did get faster, and it was a bit closer. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton in second, which really made me happy at that point. Leclerc and Sainz struggling behind in fourth. George Russell in fifth for second off, and Lando Norris improving in sixth. Was you happy? Obviously, Lando Norris being sixth place, improving at that point, but still obviously a second off the real pace, wasn't he?
Yeah, he still was off the real pace, but I was grateful to see that we weren't way off. But it was frustrating. I was frustrated with it all. You know I am. How could he be so poor at the moment, Ricardo? How?
We'll get into Ricardo. We'll get into Ricardo. Let's just think of the positive of Norris. Obviously pushing that car as hard as he can. Obviously you do get the idea of you at your home Grand Prix. You have that, or you obviously have that extra 5% that you give because it is your home Grand Prix. So that does play into account. But obviously going into the Mercedes, before we go into kind of who went out, the Mercedes, it was kind of an issue of everyone's been, and I'm gonna mention this because everyone's been mentioning every race that Russell's been faster than Hamilton by God knows how much. But it seems like Hamilton does have the edge again in this one. It was 0.6 of a second in Q2. Q1 it was still a couple tenths of a second generally, apart from the last lap where they made the actual time. And But do you think it's the rain aspect where, and again, obviously things that's happened with Hamilton that will obviously gas him up, but do you think it's the rain aspect that's the difference between Russell and Hamilton, or do you think they're Hamilton's starting to get used to this car a bit more now?
Hamilton's come back into it the last few races, so it could be he's getting into it. He's getting his car in, but like you said, it's been wet weather, and we all know how good he is in wet. He's He is a phenomenal driver in the wet. So till we can see a dry qualifying and a dry race on the weekend, and then we could see the difference between George and Lewis if it is as what it looks like now, or if it's because of the weather.
Yeah, I mean, I was always confused because I've always thought George generally in the Williams was quite good in the wet as well. So it was a bit disappointing to see that coming on. But it is what it is. Hopefully he can improve maybe tomorrow. Maybe it is just balance issues that he's got with the car, and maybe it's George can improve that for the race. But generally, I think the pace for Mercedes isn't a massive problem. We have got another guest, his first time on the channel, and obviously with Sainz being pole, he's going to be happy. So, Father, let it go.
I'm happy, man. Oh my days! You know how I was like, I was thinking to myself like, oh, white quality. You know what happened in Canada? I'm like shitting myself, man. Not only that, man, I got the ticket for tomorrow, bro.
Big up to you, Father. Big up to you. Well, Father, technically, you can get us a little vlog then.
I don't know, man.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, Father, obviously Sainz, not your boy Leclerc, didn't do as well, but Sainz getting pole. You happy with that?
Oh, I'm happy. Honestly, I'm happy with the car. Like I thought in the dry, I think it was really close in the dry, but I feel like in the wet, it's all about getting the right time in. And funny enough, Leclerc did had a spun in the last sector, and it brought up the yellow flags. But Sainz was literally a few corners away after that happened. So it was a great timing by Charles Leclerc, and unfortunately for Verstappen, he did slow down for the second sector. Unfortunately, because of that spin by Leclerc at the end. But yeah, man, it's his first position as well. I couldn't be more happy for him. Even though he had some difficulties in the past after he signed the contract, he hasn't been performing well in that car. But yeah, I think when it comes to like a wet quality, like I said, it also goes down to luck, and he's had the luck today as well. Though he had to slow, he's literally like fourth best, I think, in my opinion, in terms of wet quality drivers. You know, I don't think it's the best bunch, but yeah, it's all about luck in it. But good times.
Yeah, definitely. I think as me and Wayne kind of said before, it's being on the right part of the track at the right time in the right weather. I think Sainz got that kind of perfectly. Obviously, Verstappen, we'll get into Q3 in a little bit, but obviously spinning like crazy in the crowd, making me happy with that. But obviously going into Wayne, we'll go into obviously the people that went out, and it was kind of a bit of an anticlimactic part. Obviously, the track got massively wet towards the end, and whoever was left at that point, didn't go out and didn't bother making a lap, which meant that Esteban Ocon finished 15th, Daniel Ricciardo finished in 14th, Yuki Tsunoda 13th, Valtteri Bottas in 12th, and Pierre Gasly in 11th. Wayne, is obviously for me a couple of surprises. I think Ocon probably could have got into the top 10 potentially, and maybe a Valtteri Bottas. I'm not going to speak on Ricciardo. I'll let you kind of speak on about that, but I'll let you go on your Ricciardo rant first, because I know obviously you're disappointed with that, and then you can talk to me about the others.
Yeah, obviously I am disappointed with Ricciardo because he's not he's not pulling up his weight at the moment as a teammate. It's really bothering me because he's not like he's a bad driver. But for some reason he's not matching the same pace as Lando, and it is frustrating to watch the gap so big. But the rest of them, yeah, I'll get your point when it comes to Ocon because normally you would thought he have it, but he just looked like he just didn't have the grip. The driver did surprise me. The team that surprised me that they did better than I thought they would do was AlphaTauri. I did think they would struggle. I did think if they was getting Q2, they'd be bottom. But seeing 11th, 8th, I thought was a good result for them. Yeah, Valtteri, you would have thought he'd have been in the top 10 rather than going in Joe, but he's at the moment, he's putting out, he knows his debut year, but he seems like he suits F1, he's got the speeds and he's got a good talent there, so it's very interesting to see.
As a certain Chelsea commentator would say, he's got the minerals for F1. But yeah, I mean, you know what Bottas is like in the wet. He is kind of a step down. So I'm not surprised and surprised at the same time. I think he still probably could have beat Latifi personally, but maybe he would have gone out anyway if Ocon pushed on, because I think Ocon struggled in that beginning part, but I think he would have, if the rain held off, I think he would have put in a time to improve and get himself into Q3. But obviously, it was a shame. Father, in terms of the people that went out, was there any surprises for you?
Probably the Haas boys, just because they got a good track record in the wet as well. I'm surprised they got knocked out in the Q1.
Yeah, I was actually something I completely forgot.
Bottas as well. I'm quite shocked as well about Bottas. I thought I thought the two Alfa Romeos could have been that Q3.
Yeah, I mean, I think
apart from that, nothing really much.
I think Mick Schumacher. It's not a surprise. Mix. I don't. I think everyone knows I don't really rate him, so I'm not surprised. But I thought K-Mag could have got out of Q1, but maybe potentially, but unfortunately, just couldn't get the lap together. I mean, Father, obviously, we haven't kind of really spoken to you about this at all, but in terms of Daniel Ricciardo, but what do you think for him is going wrong at McLaren? Do you think it's just wrong car, wrong person, or do you think he really needs to improve his driving as a driver?
Self-confidence. That's the easiest word I can describe it. I don't think he's. I think he's just been underperforming this season. And he has been outshadowed by Lando a lot. Understandably so.
Do you think that will change if he goes into a different car, or do you think he should try and stick it out at McLaren?
I just think regardless if he goes on to another team, it'll be the same thing. You might as well just stick it up with your current car, innit? There's nothing you can do at the moment. You just gonna have to muck it up.
Yeah, I think
at the moment he is the second. At the moment, he is the second driver.
Yeah, definitely. I think as Wayne said before, I think it might be a case if he doesn't go out himself, I think he might be pushed out. It depends on who McLaren have in the wing to bring in. It's the problem. It's easy to say, let's get rid of someone, but if you haven't got anyone to bring in for that spot, there's no point of thinking about getting rid of drivers.
We bring in Patty O'Ward, that's not a problem. That's the one I want in, Patty O'Ward.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure McLaren have a wraith of drivers to potentially put in that car, whether they're in Formula One or not in Formula One, should they decide to get rid of Ricciardo. But obviously the main shock of the qualifying session was Nicholas Latifi. First time getting into Q3, getting 10th place.
He's first. Huh? Second, he did it in Belgium as well.
Yeah, but that Grand Prix was barely a Grand Prix, so we don't count that. But yeah, I mean, brilliant from him this season. Obviously, struggled since obviously what happened in Abu Dhabi and the fallout from that, and then he's not been very good this season at all. But Wayne, are you happy for him in terms of him doing so well?
I've obviously confidence that I am happy for him and happy for Williams, but I just, I don't rate him as a driver like you don't rate me, and the only reason I feel like he's in the sport is for the sponsorships, not for his talent, and that for me is the sore spot because I want all the talented drivers in, not just because of sponsors. So, but yeah, I'm happy for Williams, but I'd rather have been Albon up there than Latifi.
Yeah, I mean, Father, was you shocked with Latifi not only getting through Q1 but getting through to Q3?
Um, Q1 for him is not that surprised. I'm shocked with the Q2 as well from Latifi. I didn't expect it to be there in the top 10. I thought it'd be at least like 14 and 15. I just think the car to suit it for him at this track as well. Even though it's a wet track, and I think he's got the confidence as well, and he has that confidence today. And big ups to him as well. But I think if it's a dry race tomorrow, it'll be hard for him to maintain the position.
Yeah. Do you think Latifi can now take this on board into the future races? Obviously, we've got Austria straight after next week, and then we've still got France, Paul Ricard, and Hungary before we go off for the summer. Do you think this could be the bounce Latifi needs to try and keep himself in Formula One? Because realistically, I think Williams will be looking to replace him if he's not going to improve.
In ideal world, I don't think it's gonna be massive boost for him, even though it's only one race. It's a wet quality race as well. If it's a dry race, I think it'll be falling backwards. But I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see by next week. If it's another wet quality, he might be there and thereabout. But you never know
Yeah,
because
we'll have
it
to
has
see.
been unpredictable a lot due to the mixed conditions.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
it
we've
will
had
be.
like three wet qualities so far in the last 10 races.
Yeah, there's been quite a few actually. It's been more than you normally get in such a short period of time, which is nice. But unfortunately, certain ones have just been delayed, which has been annoying. But it is what it is. Glad that at least the stewards at the British Grand Prix know what they're doing in terms of rain because we're used to it every 5 minutes. But there you go. Um, Obviously, moving into Q3 itself, it was one of the ones where we didn't know if the rain was coming. We didn't know how the track was improving. Everyone was making different times, different laps, cooling off, cooling on, cooling off. And it did produce a little bit of a shake up. But at the same time, some people will say it's not a surprise. Obviously, the top 10 finished with Nicholas Latifi, obviously, in 10th place. Jovan Yu in ninth place, followed by George Russell in 8th, Fernando Alonso in 7th, Lando Norris in 6th, Lewis Hamilton in 5th, Sergio Perez 4th, Charles Leclerc in 3rd place, Max Verstappen in 2nd, and Carlos Sainz obviously taking pole, as we mentioned before. Wayne, I'll start with you. Kind of go straight into kind of George Russell, really. I mean, 8th place and Lewis Hamilton 5th place. Considering of what they were putting in Q1, Q2, you thought there was a chance of them getting at least one of them into the top three and mixing it up a little bit, but it just really didn't work out for them in the end, did it?
No, surprisingly not. Obviously, like we said about Lewis Hamilton, he's always been a good wet driver, wet race driver. So it was surprising not to see him up there pushing more on the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. But Russell was the biggest shock because I didn't think he'd be that off Hamilton. I didn't think he'd be in 8th overall. I know Alonso is Alonso. He's how good he is, and Lando. Well, I'm a big fan of these, but I still do see it happening. I thought the driver out of them all would be Perez that could struggle, but yeah, it was surprising to the standards what I would have thought Russell would have been.
Yeah, and obviously for Hamilton, it's not so bad because obviously he is behind the top four, but he is just behind in terms of actual position. So in the race, should Mercedes get a good start like they have generally in the races, potentially he could straight away get in the mix and then battle for a potential podium should the race go very well. But obviously for Russell, he's behind Alonso, behind Lando Norris. Father, I'll come to you. Obviously, Wayne's just cut out for a second. Do you think it's a disappointing place for Russell to finish in eighth?
I think he'll be gutted more than disappointed. I think he's got the pace in the wet, but I think it's just like I think that lap in the end kind of cost him a lot because there was a yellow flag as well at the end. It and unfortunately he had to slow down by the rules of settings. But yeah, I think it's a bad place, bad timing for him. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate, but in the wet he's got the pace to be challenged at least like front row. But I think the timing right at the end wasn't perfect for him.
Yeah, I mean it was I think all about timing. And I think the Mercedes, I think even some of the other cars, I think Leclerc was kind of caught out a little bit by it. Perez as well to a point. Just none of them really improved their times that much, and they all started dropping off a little bit after Sainz conveniently got the pole, which was good for him to get in that right spot, right time. But obviously there was a bit of a struggle, we'll say, from Max Verstappen. Obviously, we know he in the wet really likes to push the grip as far as he possibly goes, and sometimes that does result in a certain spin. And there was a couple of spins in that. Obviously, he got second in the end, which is good, but he did struggle, which to the delight of the Silverstone crowd, seeing him spin. I think some of them would have preferred him to go into the wall at that point, but there you go. What did you think of Verstappen? Do you think it was disappointing to see him just almost drop off a little bit in that Q3? Obviously, for you, biasly, you're going to love that, but do you think it's disappointing for him?
I don't think he'll be disappointed. I think it's just right, like I said, right at the end was it because literally it was like Charles and Max Verstappen were in that second sector. Carlos literally got like a massive gap ahead of him. So I don't think it'll be muchly gutted. I think most of the white qualities from Q1 to Q2, I think he dominated so far, but it all goes down to luck, and luck. I think the luck has run out for him in this case.
Yeah, I think it's. I think he'll be frustrated to a point because I think he knew how well he was doing in Q1,
Yeah.
Q2, to not get there. But as much as I do criticise him, he is a professional. I think he'll look to push in the race, and I think in terms of the championship wise, he's in front of Leclerc. So I think for him, that's all that matters. I think if he was third, uh, and Leclerc pipped him, that would be more of a disappointment for him. But him being in front of Leclerc means it's still in his hands in terms of potentially pushing that lead a bit higher. Obviously, in terms of we'll go into Leclerc. Obviously, I haven't really spoken to you too much since Leclerc kind of has dropped off a little bit from Verstappen, and Verstappen's dominated. Are you disappointed to see after a very good start from Ferrari, just that Red Bull are just that a little bit better?
For me, I would go down to the route saying that the failures that he's had Spain and Azerbaijan kind of cost him a lot. And in Miami, I would say it was more to the tire deck, but yeah, I think for me, I'll be more disappointed for him just because the lack of pace that he has been so far for the last 4 or 5 races now. Monaco is one of the races for me. It's like, you know what? What's the right word? I would be more inclined to say that disappointed, but I think it's more frustration for him because ever since the Red Bull had the two power unit DNFs from Australia and also Bahrain, they've been improving a lot in terms of power unit, and I think we're kind of falling backwards in terms of our progression as a team. Uh, it's sad to see, and the fact that we've got that penalty last week, we may take another one for Carlos Sainz if he sustains another engine issue in the next two races. So yeah, man, like
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
it's still a long way to go in that. I think obviously anything can happen in the next few races. All
Mhm.
Verstappen needs is a certain engine issues, and then he gets a penalty. It's about kind of getting big up Sadiq in the comment section.
Sadiq,
KFC
I was gonna
Wi-Fi.
give it to you, but you backed out. I was gonna take him, by the way, Matt. If you don't know, I was gonna take Sadiq, but Sadiq don't want to.
Sadiq, I would have gone if you're too scared to go.
Look here,
Bottle job. He's too busy fixing his KFC Wi-Fi. That's why.
club corner.
Ah, club, you and club. Oh, don't make me any more jealous than he is. Oh,
I
ooh.
would, I would give it to you, but I would give
I,
it to you.
I'm tending to believe Father here, Sadiq.
Sadiq still like Sadiq still like me, but he still blocked me. See, let me just show you. Yeah, look, man still blocked me. Man still angry at me for what? No, see, come on, man.
Um,
I know. I'm going with Andrew, but I was gonna take you first.
Sadiq, it is what it is. I mean, next year we'll just have to go worldwide Chelsea out on tour in
Yeah,
Silverstone. But obviously, kind of going into um, the race tomorrow a little bit. Obviously, I have just been looking at the weather, and it is going to be relatively cloudy. It
yeah, 40,
should stay dry. There is a 10% chance of rain, so it's almost
no,
teasing us with a little
40%,
bit of rain.
40% chances of rain.
I was just looking at the weather that I've got up now. It says 11 to 12% chance of rain,
Yeah.
around 3 4. But obviously,
Well,
British weather that can change
that could change.
massively
Yeah.
within the next 24
Mm-hmm.
hours. So hopefully, we do get a bit of rain because it does spruce up the
Spice things up,
race.
yes.
But Silverstone doesn't need spicing up; it's already spicy as it is. What
Yeah,
is your
30% chance of
predictions?
rain tomorrow at around 12 p.m.
Yeah,
So I think it'll be a damn start, like a wet start.
yeah, it might be a damp start, but in the race itself, I think it's going to calm. It should calm down a little bit, but hopefully we do get some rain. I'd like to see some rain. Um, Father, what is your predictions going into the race tomorrow? Do you think there's going to be anyone that shocks you going through the grid? Who do you think obviously will finish top three? And do you think there's going to be any incidents at all?
If it's a dry race, it'll be a Ferrari 1-2. But if it's a wet race, I think it'll be the same boat.
Do you think there'll be any incidents at all, or do you think it'll be quite a clean race?
There'll be incidents along the way. There'll be a safety car if it's a wet race.
Mm-hmm. But you think in terms of the top end, it'll be fairly incident
In
free?
the top end, I don't know, man. Because so far, what I've seen today, no one had a miraculous accident. Nothing. It's just a few spins along the way. I think it
Yeah,
was
but
a
when they're lunging into each other, going into corners, that's a whole different
yeah.
kettle of
I
fish.
don't know about that. There might be. You know what? Just for the chaos, I hope there'll be. I hope there's like a max slow start and then he spun. I just hope plenty of dramas tomorrow. I
I'm
picked
I'm wait. I'm waiting for
I'll
this.
pay good enough money for this shit, man. I need some drama.
I'm
sometime,
wait.
man.
I mean, if I'm honest, I'm waiting for this Verstappen Leclerc clash because it's gonna come. It's gonna come at some point. I want to see. I want to see how Leclerc deals with it because I reckon Leclerc will be professional, and Verstappen will go into baby mode as he usually does.
So far, they haven't had they always had a clean contact though. They never had like a big contact. Oh,
You know, with Verstappen, it's coming.
yeah.
I think
We'll see, innit?
Leclerc's a bit nicer with him compared to Hamilton. I don't think Hamilton gives him the space that he wants, and that's where they collide. But I think they've got to come together at some point, and I have a feeling if that Verstappen starts slowly, Leclerc is under a bit more pressure to almost stop this Verstappen momentum of finishing above him. It wouldn't surprise me if I don't think they'll both crash out, but if there's contact and one of them goes back, and I think personally for me, I think Lewis Hamilton fights through a little bit to snap a podium off one of them too.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Do you expect any dark horse people coming through the pack at all, or do you think it'll be mid pack? Would be
I think
reasonable.
it'll be a straightforward one. I'll be real. Unless if it's a wet race, you might see your Valtteri Bottas just roll through, finish ahead of Mercedes somehow.
I do not want to see that.
But on a real note, if it's a dry race, I think it'll be a straightforward fight.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I
mean,
don't
Father
know
going
about
a bit more of a boring
Mercedes,
prediction
I
compared
don't
to
know
me,
about
but there you
Mercedes
go.
struggling in the porpoising yet, because I've seen them struggling a lot with the porpoising in the last straight, especially in the high speed corner, and that the one that Cops and Beckett's they tend to struggle a lot though.
Yeah, I think they were asking Russell about the proportion all weekend. I think so far he said that he's not really had any proportion at all, which is good, but how long that lasts. I mean, the thing is, when it comes to the race itself, the high fuel load it kind of evens it out anyway. I think there's not really been a struggle Mercedes wise with proportion at all in races. It's more in the qualifying when you're low fuel, you're going full speed, it's very light. That's when it starts going off and basically creating sparks everywhere. But the race generally we usually sort ourselves out, which is why I'm a bit more confident going into this race, considering our pace and qualifying was pretty decent. But we'll see. Obviously, everything can change. Silverstone is that track that brings it out, and that's why arguably it's one of the best on the calendar and should never be gone, unlike other tracks that have been rumoured.
So,
Father, obviously, I haven't spoken to you about any of the other stuff that's gone on this week regarding Nelson Piquet, Dips, and then obviously the Bernie Eccleston comments. It's been a bit of a madness that's been going on in F1 last week, hasn't it?
It does, and I think it just goes to show that in F1, I'm just going to keep it short, man. I don't think racism is the one that needs to be tolerated, man. Like, it's not good, and I feel that if you're in Max position, you feel a bit awkward of yourself, because now suddenly you've got the British fans backing Hamilton. Now, I've heard some boos around on Verstappen though, but at the end of the day, it's just the rivalry towards Verstappen from the British fans kind of like, so it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think he would have got boos at the British Grand Prix anyway with how it ended last year. I don't think the racism stuff would have made too much of a difference with that. I do think.
Hold on, because Max's partner also involved in that kind of. Kelly, sorry, is that Kelly her name? Yeah, so her partner's literally like the dad of the
Yeah.
That's some Piquet's daughter, literally. Talking
Yeah,
about
I think Verstappen's dealt with it quite well, considering obviously because it is tough. Obviously, it's your father-in-law that's in the spotlight, so it obviously he can't say too much, but I think he's dealt with it okay, and I think fans have been okay with that. I think my criticism would be more towards Red Bull. Obviously, you had the bit where Yuri Vips said the certain word in a stream. I think it was Call of Duty or something like that, some sort of game. I wasn't paying attention to the game. Obviously, Red Bull kind of had a word of him, didn't do anything for a week, and then the Nelson Piquet stuff come out, and then suddenly they terminated his contract. Do you think, in terms of Red Bull's handling, that was probably the wrong way to go? Because it does seem as if they're trying to just stop themselves from getting any issues.
I'll be real. I think Red Bull in an awkward spot as well, just because of the Yuri Vips comment, kind of like backfire on the racist stuff that he said. But I think Red Bull by this weekend they are in a bit of spotlight of what happened in the last few days. But they had to do what they had to do, and at the end of the day, it's just like the racism thing. Like, don't ever brought up to any kind of sports. At the end of the day, it's just general consensus.
Yeah, definitely. I think they could have acted quicker, but unfortunately they didn't, and it is what it is. I think we can't beat around the bush too much and beat them up too much about it, because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, they're not the ones that have been racist. It's Yuri Vips that's put them in that position, and people deal with it differently. I'm just glad that when the Nelson Piquet thing come out, Red Bull were one of the first teams to come out in support of Lewis Hamilton, and rightfully so. And I'm just happy with how well 99% of the Formula One community supported Lewis Hamilton. Unfortunately, you have Bernie Ecclestone comparing it to being called fat, which I think is ridiculous. But we'll ignore the comments of a 91-year-old dinosaur who thankfully is not involved in F1 anymore. It is what it is. So far, but obviously we haven't. We'll finish up in a little bit. Obviously, Wayne has had problems, so he won't be coming back on. But in terms of the races going on, we've got obviously Silverstone tomorrow, Austria, France, and then Hungary before the summer break. What do you think Ferrari could and should do in that time to try and at least stop this Red Bull momentum coming up to the final, coming up to the summer break? Do you think there's anything they can do, or do you think it's out of your hands?
At the moment, I think with the Austria track, I think it'll suit Ferrari the most, especially in the second sector and the third sector. But I think it'll be quite close right by next week. France, I'm not too sure on Ferrari's pace, because I think that's a Red Bull track, long straight. Even though the first sector belongs to Ferrari. Yeah, man. Like I think we just need to make sure that we don't have any reliability issues again, because we've had two so far, and especially two engine failures in one race in Azerbaijan. We just hope that never happens again in the future.
Yeah, the problem is if you hopefully you found the problem and nipped it in the bud, but sometimes if it can happen once, it can happen again. So that's always the issue, that and it goes in the back of the drivers' minds through the race that it could happen, and that does cause a bit of a problem. I think you're right in terms of what you were saying. I think in terms of Mercedes' case, I remember Christian Horner's kind of suggested that Silverstone in France is going to be a kind of place where Mercedes improve, which so far Silverstone it looks like we have. Austria is a Red Bull track. Austria is just a dead rubber for me. I'll just watch it, but watch it in hope that we can get some sort of points. And then Hungary, I think Hungary is going to be an interesting one, because obviously it's one that not many overtakes generally happen in Hungary. And obviously these cars, these new regulations are built to improve overtaking. So do you think that will be an interesting race to kind of watch and almost judge these new regulations a little bit on?
I think Hungary will be a Ferrari track in my opinion. I think we'll be dominating that track regardless.
Mhm.
Um, it depends as well the weather, because last year we had a wet race in Hungary as well. So spice it up some things as well. So I won't be
Yeah, and
surprised.
Hungary has been a bit of a entertaining one in terms of events happening. I remember Hamilton's engine blowing up and other instances of crashes and that spins. So yeah, Hungary is always a testing track for drivers. Big up to Nippin and a Sports TV for joining a little bit late on, but that's all right. I did watch part of your watch along Nippin. I didn't get to see all of it, but I did tune in to watch a little bit of it. I smashed the like button. Anyone that is watching, make sure you tune into NS Sports TV. Subscribe to him. He's doing a watch along for the Silverstone race tomorrow. So make sure you tune into that, and then obviously come onto this channel straight after, because we will be live straight after. We might get Nippin on if he's available, and of course Father and Wayne are always interested, although I remember Father.
I'll be at Silverstone next week.
Or maybe you can come in for a tad, if you can jump in just for
God forbid if it's a dry race, man.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that is kind of the end. Is there anything you want to say, Father, before we finish?
Make sure you subscribe, guys. Even though it's a small channel, but make sure you subscribe, guys. Get some.
Yeah.
Need some help out.
Big up. We are on 28 subscribers, and we will keep going. We will get to 50 subscribers eventually, hopefully, by the start of after the summer break.
If you're watching this, please unblock me. I beg you.
Come on, Sadiq, just unblock him, please. Just for me. Anyway, everyone who has been watching and will be watching after this, big up to you. Obviously, big up to Nippin, Sadiq, and Rob for making comments. All of you, anyone that is watching, put in some comments down, even in the stream, after the stream, and me, Wayne, possibly Father, will be jumping on the comments, debating with you, and then when the channel grows, you guys can potentially jump on and have your own opinions on the channel as well. So big up to everyone that has been watching, and Father, once again, thank you for coming on and making your debut.
No, that's all right, man. That's all right. That's all. Make sure you subscribe, guys. Subscribe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have a range of opinions. Obviously, me, Mercedes, KJ, unfortunately, Red Bull, Ferrari, in terms of Father, Wayne in terms of McLaren. We have you all covered from all sides, so make sure you keep tuning in. Tune in tomorrow straight after the race. We'll be live, me and Wayne at least, and maybe KJ as well if he actually answers his messages. But there you go. This is Matt. This is Father. It was Wayne signing out. See you guys later.